Do. You're tired of being a fatty, huh?
Well, I mean,
You want to come to the gym with me?
honestly, I just need to, what do you call it? Do cardio
Yeah,
because
that's usually a thing that happens.
because we were on our way to Michigan. We had to do a flight or a changeover at Minneapolis, and let's
I
see
saw a
from
little bit. I saw like a little bit of a comment kind of relating to this. You guys had to do like a half an hour run or something
yeah,
across terminals, basically.
yeah. Okay, so the Minneapolis airport is like 2 miles long,
Sure.
and even with the tram, like the like standing sidewalks or whatever, the ones that
Right.
move and all that crap, it still took us about 30 minutes to get from our gate to the one that was, taking off. And they just happen, thank you, Delta, for making them be at complete opposite ends of the runways or of the airport. Not only that, it gets better. Our flight was late, and then we had to run basically 2 miles because the tram was also down. And let's see, my knee gave out and my foot, like, okay, so I don't know if you know this, but I broke my foot twice. Broke it twice, so putting a lot of pressure on it kind of, I don't know, it
Unpleasant.
sucks horribly. And so I was running through the airport with my bag of clothes and everything, and I probably packed like 30 pounds worth of crap into a book pack.
Why?
Why? Because I put my shoes in there too,
Okay.
and I mean that's obviously an exaggeration, but oh no, 280 pounds going two 2 miles in under 30 minutes. It's pretty bad on my knees and my leg or my feet, and my knee even gave out, and I tripped at one point, so that was even more fun. Got cramps the whole way. Oh, I should have stretched.
Yeah. So every year I spend about 3 months before Gen Con getting what I call Gen Con shape. I don't want to have to do that ever again. I'm going to just get in shape in general, on shape, because it's just like that, except it's 4 days of that, like running back and forth between different ends of the convention center. And you have like, oh, this event ends at 3:55, and your next event starts at 4 o'clock, and you're like, oh, I gotta go 3 blocks that way, like long blocks, not like short blocks, like what we have in Kansas blocks, like
Right.
real blocks. It's like, and you're like out of shape, and you have like your backpack full of shit because you're a fat gamer and you want to carry all your books with you, and you're like, so yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, you just got to get yourself a bike, buddy, and just like ride that everywhere.
I would,
Get that cardio up.
but I don't have the money for that.
I feel you. I feel you. My bike is in the shop still, slash, again, for
Right.
the exact same thing. I got it back, and then I took it down the street like 3 blocks, and it did it again. So I took it back to the guy. I have to remember to call him after we get done recording because still no bike, and perfect biking weather is almost over, and my fat butt needs to go catch Pokemans. That's the only reason I really want to ride my bike instead of just go to the nice air conditioned gym.
Get
Is like
them,
I want to get them Pokemons.
gonna get them buddies popping up so you can
That's
evolve the
right.
crap you get.
Dude, it's gonna take 181 miles to get enough Charmander candy to
Yep.
evolve my Charmander or to a Charmander from a Charmeleon.
Plus side about the airport. I turned on Pokemon Go. I hatched 5 eggs on the way
On
from
the
gate to
belts?
gate. Yep.
Oh, I thought just on the belts, just like riding on the belts, just
Oh no,
wee.
I was, because they're just the straight paths. So
Right.
I turned it on and I just start walking with it. And I mean they run almost the entire length of the airport. So it was just I think I walked, was it like almost 10 kilometers in the two trips, something
Yeah,
like that.
I've been to a couple that are really long like that, and you can just like power walk with it down one side, and then you can just turn around and like power walk down the other side.
If I would have
Yeah,
had time, I would have done that. I would have
yeah,
just been
I've
like, duh, duh.
we we've done that. Like when you've had, because when we drove to Indy this last time, right? But the time before that, we had three plane failures trying to get home.
Mm-hmm.
So in the time before that, we had weather delays trying to fly back. So like we're done flying, right? But we literally spent I think 12 hours in an airport because of delays and malfunctions one year. Remington and I watched all of like the Avengers Assembled cartoon series, like 26 episodes
Yep.
sitting in the airport on my cell phone
Yep.
one year. So I mean it's pretty terrible. Had we had Pokemon Go then, it would have been a lot of walking. But no Pokemon, because I don't think there's any Pokemon in airports. I think they're flagged for
There are no Pokemon in airports, but you do have Pokestops and gyms.
yeah. So you can still do some stuff, but not good things. But this is not a podcast about Pokemon Go or airports or how
That's
Travis is out of shape. Oh, I guess I'm out of shape too, but we're out of shape. This is episode 50 of Two Trolls and a Brew, a podcast about Dungeons and Dragons and brewing and trolling people.
so our Magic podcast is about Dungeons and Dragons.
Son of a bitch! I said Dungeons and Dragons. That's how important Dungeons and Dragons is to me. That's exactly how important our Magic podcast is to me. It's like, we're about Dungeons and Dragons. Yay!
Damn.
I love Dungeons and Dragons. Will you play Dungeons and Dragons with me? Sorry, Magic the Gathering and trolling people at said Magic the Gathering. Uh, this week's episode, best common, hands down. I'm going to announce that later on. And subtitle, Fire Forger's Puzzle Knot, because Travis poo-pooed it last time we spoke. And I got to play with a couple of them, and we're going to talk about them. Let's start things off with a little bit of a pre-release story. Again, sorry, Travis, you had to go out of town. But I did get to play at some pre-releases. I continued my awesome streak of 3-1s over and over and over again. I'm pretty sure I had the best deck on Sunday, the most consistent, fast, tempo-based deck filled with evasion creatures. You would literally love this deck. And somehow I just kind of got stopped for a second. And then my opponent just played like 4-4 into 4-4 into 4-4 into 4-4. And that kind of like put a damper on my deck. But anyway, the today's story comes to I was playing with a friend of ours, Tyler, and we're in a situation where he was in the process of going off, and I'm like, I had the burn spell. I think it's Chandra's Ignition. It does 2 damage divided however you choose between up to 2 target creatures and player. For 2 mana, it does 2 damage. And I'm like, oh, should I respond to him putting triggers on his guy by doing a point of damage to it and like killing this thing off too? And I'm like, and then he's like, I do this, and I'm like, oh, should I back him up? Should I roll him back? I don't know. And then he goes back to my turn, and I'm like, all right, I can't attack, but he can't attack me either, so it's fine. I pass it back to him. He like does like makes like 8 more dudes. I'm like, oh, I guess I should have killed that dude, that flyer, because now I can't attack in and kill him because you're at 2 life. And if I had that flyer out of the way, I could just kill him. The spell does 2 damage. How you choose to target creature or player, Travis.
Yep.
So basically, once I figured it out, I was like, I just kill you. He's like, so you have the burn spell in your hand? I'm like, yes, for like 4 turns now. Dead for 4 turns. I'm like, you should have been, yes. So he like attacks for, I think, 13 or something. I'm like, cool. And I just untap and burning to death. I'm like, oh, so bad. But it was a lot of fun.
That kind of reminds me of what happened at draft last night.
Oh, yeah? What happened? Tell me about it.
One of
Weave
the,
me a story.
one of the dudes we were drafting with, he was like, "Oh man, this scarecrow is really good." You know, the 4/4 for 4.
Oh yeah, the
And I'm like,
one that says you all your creatures cost one more, right?
"Right, right." He
Okay.
didn't read that part, or he read it incorrectly. Like, this
Okay.
guy's so good. I was like, I'm not I'm not following you. He's like, "No, it's really good." I was like, "What's so great about having to pay one more mana for all of your creatures?" And then he looks at it and he goes, "Oh, son of a bitch." and he's and then he was on tilt the entire night because of it.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. It's pretty crazy sometimes when things get stuck in your brain. Like I said, I was just like, I have to attack for 2 more points of damage for the win. I just have to get in for 2 more points. It shouldn't be this hard. Not even realizing that I had the 2 points of damage literally in my hand.
Right.
So yeah, you just like I said, it's something that we all probably need practice with. I know I need a lot more practice with it to not get focused in and and I talk to my son Remington about it all the time. Like, reevaluate every turn. Like, what is your path to victory? Do you have a better path than what you already have planned? And had I done that like 4 turns earlier, the game wouldn't have been gone that long. There would have been no chance for him to recover. So I just need to make an effort to reevaluate to see, can I win this turn? Um, and if I can, is it better than going for the plan that I'd already established the turn before, or however many turns earlier it was? I don't know. Should we talk about the troll card? My troll card of the week.
Sure.
I am going to call this the best common in the set as well.
Okay.
And I think right now you're going to disagree with me, but then once you play it, you might change your mind.
Okay.
Eddie Trell Hawk. Are you familiar with this card?
Nope.
One white, one generic for a bird, a 2/1 flyer that enters the battlefield with 2 energies. When it attacks, you may pay 1 energy. If you do, another target attacking creature gains flying until end of turn.
Oh, that's gross. The
Isn't that
artwork
this?
on it is great too. I just looked it up.
Oh, it is amazing. I am so impressed by this card. I just thought it was another one of those like thriving creatures. Like, I'm going to throw away 2 energy and give it a +1/+1. I'm like, oh, this is a 2 mana 2/3, like every other white 2 mana flyer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But this is so much better than that. This is an amazing card. First of all, it comes down. It is a flyer on its own, makes 2 energy, so up to 2 creatures can easily get flying, or the same creature twice over 2 turns. And like, I had 4 of them in my sealed deck on Sunday, and I was just like, all right, let's just see what this does. And super impressed. Oh, here's my 3/2 that I played on turn 3 to make my guy a 2/3 this turn. Oh, I guess I'm attacking next turn for 4 in the air flying. And then I'll play this other hawk and make 2 more energies or whatever. And
Right.
they just really gross. Um, I really believe that this guy is the best common in the set right now. I could be wrong. There could be a better common, but um, I wish I would have known how good this guy was all weekend long. I would have tried to rebuild all of my decks around him. Flying is super great in this particular. Like, it's always good. Evasion creatures are always good. But in this particular set, it seems like there's a lot of good early aggression, and a creature that can take your early aggression and then turn it into like a mid-game swing to just like kill you is super good.
I don't know. I kind of think dramatic reversal is the best common in this set.
Is that which one's that?
Uh, colorless or generic and blue, instant speed,
Oh, the
untap
untap.
all non-land permanents you
See,
control.
I never really found a good situation for that card to be used. Occasionally, there's a spot here or there. Somebody could have made some work with it, but for the most part, it doesn't do enough. If you have like a lot of good equipment, it might be really solid. or if you need to like ambush some guys on the blocks, it might be really good.
Hmm.
But there's something to be said about just, you know, playing a 2/2 for 2, getting in 5 or 6 points of damage, and then somebody finally gets down like their 4/4 ground creature, and you're just like, awesome, take 6 in the air instead.
Right.
Um, like it's really good. Thriving Turtle, I was also really impressed with. That thing did a lot of work for me. Uh, I had, I think, 2 of them in my first sealed pool,
Nice.
and I had a couple of the other blue one drops, Master of Inquiries. So I had a bunch of these blue one drops that made 2 energy. So I was able to play a turtle, attack with it, make it a 1/4, play another, you know, turtle type person, attack with the turtle. And I ended up making like a 4/8, I think, several times. And a 4/8 is really hard to deal with in this format.
Right.
Um, so I was really impressed with the turtles as well, but it's nothing compared to that ability to give a creature flying. There's so many great creatures in this format that have a big evasive body that is just disgusting when you make them go. Speaking of make something go and disgusting, so we kind of had talked about the red haste guy, the red haste driver guy.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find it. Speedway Fanatic. First of all, card is nowhere near hyped enough. This thing is absolutely bonkers. You play this guy on 2, attack for 2. You play a what's like a what the common one, the train, the runaway train,
Renegade
something freight.
Freighter.
Renegade Freighter. You play Renegade Freighter on 3. Use this guy to act it up. You attack for 5 on turn 3. So you're talking about 7 damage on turn 3. And then
And it
heaven
has
forbid you
brand.
get, well, heaven forbid you have something else. I was really impressed with that guy, and of course the trader. But a card that was not on my radar at all, and I actually want to look to see if every color has these or just red and white. Um, I'm trying to find his name right quick because again, as usual, we were trying to record, so Gather is turned off. It is called. It's 2 mana white guy with first strike. When he gear shift ace. There we go. Gear shift ace. First strike, when it crews a vehicle, that vehicle gets first strike till end of turn. It's also a 2-drop. That thing was bonkers. The 2 of them together. There was one point where my most powerful card in like on its own in a void probably would be the 10/7 can't be blocked by a 2 or more.
Okay.
I'm trying to think what it's called too. Are you taking a picture of me with your phone?
I'm reading.
You're
Yeah,
reading, trying to find the
because Gather is down and this is faster.
Demolition Stomper is the name of the vehicle. So I had this vehicle, Crew 5, so I was able to tap those 2 creatures and like a servo tap and have it attack the turn I put it into play. And a 10/7 first strike haste basically just demolished um, my opponents with very little difficulty. Um, so yeah, I'm really impressed with that. I wasn't super excited to try to build a vehicle deck, and now after playing with those 2 particular cards, I'm very excited to try to play a vehicle deck now.
You know what really goes really well with the vehicle decks?
What's that?
Untap all your non-land permanents.
That's true. That would be really good. You know what's also really good? It might be even better. Start your engines. The sorcery vehicles you control become artifact creatures till end of turn. Creatures you control get +2/+0 till end of turn. This thing was bonkers.
Yeah, that sounds pretty nuts.
It really was insane. I am really looking forward to putting together, I think, some sort of red-white vehicle deck and just try it. I think it's going to be I don't know if it's going to be good, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Um, Using the Depa Pilot Exemplar, um, I think we could really push the mechanics together and really kind of make something hurt. You also have the veteran motorist, which I didn't have. But when it enters the battlefield, you get a scry 2. And then when it crews a vehicle, that vehicle gets +1/+1 till end of turn.
Hmm.
So I think there's probably a little bit of that. There's a little bit more of that sub theme going on somewhere. I would love it if there's like a blue one that gives it flying, maybe next turn or next expansion or whatever. I don't think there's one now, but that would be the bonkers or some other form of evasion. But
So speaking of bonkers, did you happen to see that our friend Steve got to live the dream of hitting someone for 50?
no, but I did get to play it a little bit this week, and it's on my list of things to talk about. But
Yeah,
yeah, no, that would be awesome.
yeah. Steve, he popped it off, and he
I
got
think I think when I played it, the highest life total I got to was 37.
lame.
I mean, it still felt pretty good. Like,
Hmm.
I mean, my opponent was attacking me with a 10-10, and I was just able to let it hit me and
Right.
just keep attacking back because I could gain, 7 or 8 life here, whatever. Um, I was really impressed with how quickly this could add up, and I'm really tempted to put together a El Cheapo Soul Sisters deck online for modern, and just use this as like the like win condition. You know what I mean? Because like a red white Soren deck, or not Soren, um, Norin Soul Sisters deck is pretty inexpensive. Talking about I think like $20-ish, give or take.
Right.
I imagine you'd be able to pick this thing up for probably less than a ticket in a couple of weeks. And this just seems like it could be a really excellent way to finish the game um, in a Soul Sisters type deck. So I don't know. I feel like this thing's going to get an awful lot of play if you can cast spells after you spent 4 mana to cast one of these guys.
I think it'll be great. Granted, I like to live in magical Christmas land, so
I understand. I feel you. One of our pseudo listeners, I'm going to say, again, we're talking about Tyler, uh, listens occasionally, and he came up to me after the tournament. He's like, "So here's the thing for you," and he rattled off some combo that I asked him to email me, and he didn't. So I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but
what
I
did
was
it do?
like, it was something to do with the fabrication module stuff, like to make something all go clang clang clang.
Well, you can make infinite tokens in standard.
That's true. This was something more than that, but I was like, yeah, that sounds really good. You know what I mean? And I think there's going to be an awful lot of weirdness in this particular set, and I'm looking forward to seeing people and what people can do with it.
See,
Um,
I personally like how this set is just entirely laid back. Like even the creatures that are like being stabbed or whatever, it has a very bright disposition to it. It's kind of like, oh well, could have stabbed me in worse places.
yes, that's true. It is pretty
Yeah,
cheery.
yeah, it is.
Um, I don't know. I think we should definitely have a challenge for next week to put together a brew, each of us. Maybe not around a particular card, but something we can talk about it off air. But I definitely think we should each have something um, that we feel is crazy for next week's show. What do you think, Travis?
I think it'll be great.
Okay, done. We'll do that. If you are listening to us now and would like to contribute a deck for next week's show, use the email, the number 2trolls@gmail.com, and send us an email. That would be awesome. The links are on the website. I guess it's Two Trolls Brew. Sorry, I keep saying Two Trolls. Two Trolls Brew at gmail.com. And you know, that'll go to us. And again, all those links are located on the show notes at the websites, salmonscrabble.com, for example, and many, many others. So I don't suppose you happen to have a troll card for this week since you didn't get a lot of opportunity to play.
I mean, the only troll card that I had was one that I drafted last night, but I can't remember what it's called.
Okay,
Uh,
excellent.
yeah, so we're halfway there. It was from Eldritch Moon. It costs 3 mana, uh, 2 generic and a black. It's a 2/3, and you can pay a black and tap it, discard a card, and each player loses 2 life.
Oh, I like that card a lot, actually. I can't think of the name of it either. A little
And
2/3.
yeah, and it won me 3 games out of my draft last night and tied me for one of them.
Now, was that because it was a madness outlet or because it was a way to burn somebody out
It was a way to burn
indirectly?
someone out. So I drafted. Okay, so I started off with a Madness Vampire, the red one. That
Okay.
it's a 3/2 with trample, and when it deals combat damage, you exile the top card of your library.
Shadow draw, red draw.
Yeah. But then all of the red was being taken, so I switched over to white,
Sounds like black. Okay, white.
and then all of the white started getting taken, so I just ended up grabbing whatever was good in the packs.
Okay. Sounds like a tough table to read.
Oh, it was awful. It was an awful table to read. Like, going both directions, it was just horrible. And everybody was in at least 2 colors because nobody knew how to read the table. So it was fun. And by fun, I mean garbage. Uh, and then pack 2, I opened up Docent of Perfection. So
Okay, that card's great.
all right, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to try and force blue X. Just whatever I get. So, I start grabbing all the blue cards for, filtering and drawing and all that crap. And then zombies started coming. So I was like, yeah, all right. I'll go ahead and grab these zombies. And I got the enchantment that, gives your zombies menace.
Hmm. I like
And
that enchantment a lot.
you can pay 4 to exile a creature and get a zombie.
Hmm.
And then I ended up with the zombie. It's a 6/6 that comes in with 5 counters. Whenever a player casts a spell, you remove a counter and put in a 2/2 zombie.
Oh, okay. I
Null
think I know what
grab,
you're talking about.
something or another. Either way.
I know. I would look the gatherers down for me like always.
Right, right. Actually, I might have it. Anyways, I'll keep talking as I do this. As I
Okay.
look for the card. But yeah, so I ended up getting those 2 zombies, and then Rise from the Grave. So even if
Okay.
they did end up, my creature being killed or whatever, I could just bring them back. And then what was the other thing? I can't remember what else I grabbed out of that pack. But then third pack was of course Shadows, and then I
Right.
opened up something. Obviously, my draft polls were impressive. By the way, I can remember.
Obviously, they stood right out.
Yeah,
They're right there in front of your face.
yeah. Let me tell you. Uh,
I just love how you're like, because those of you who aren't watching on the YouTubes right now, you could totally check that out. But Travis is just like, you could see him spinning around in this half circle, looking at the floor because nothing is where it should be. Everything's just, he's got to be like sitting in the middle of this massive pile of magic cards, just like somewhere over here is
is
this
the thing?
card.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
just like spinning around in this circle. It's absolutely ridiculous to watch.
No,
I
I'm
love it.
I'm I'm organized and stuff.
Yeah,
But by organized, I mean uh,
it's in your room.
magic is right here,
he makes a he makes a half circle around him. He's right here.
and then force of will is right here.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, it's or organized as much as I can get because I'm very, um, what's the word?
Disorganized?
No,
Yes.
mentally aloof.
Okay. We call
Yeah,
can we call that
yeah,
disorganized?
yeah, sure, whatever.
Um
Uh, but no, then yeah, so I ended up getting a bunch of zombies in the third pack also, and it was a horrible zombie control deck. But I ended up going 1-1-1 because
okay.
of that 2-3 that causes both players to lose a life.
Right. You
So
managed to take yourself out with you a couple of times.
yeah, well, just once, just the once. But the other two times it actually won me the game. But it was one of the games. My opponent, she just completely overran me in the air. Couldn't do anything about it. The second game, we were both. She was at 2 and I was at 1. I'm like, you know what? Let's just start in game 3. And she goes, but I'm gonna win next turn. I was like, all right, if you think so. And so we go to her turn, and I have that guy just sitting there. And she's like, I attack for lethal. I was like, oh, in response, I'm gonna discard this card, and we both lose. And she's like, oh, damn it.
Same time, mother trucker, same
Yeah,
time.
exactly. And then she was like, and then we were trying to figure out how to decide who goes first in game 3 because at the time it was she won one game, we tied one game, so we're going into game 3. So we had to roll to see who goes first.
I think if it's a draw, it goes back to the person who went first game 2.
Well, either
I'd have
way,
to
we
double check.
either way we rolled, so I went first. I got the high roll, so
Awesome.
but yeah, then I won game 3, so we ended up tying that round before either of the other matches finished.
Well, let's again, it's going to be really tough for you because you didn't get to play the format very much. But I kind of want to get into what our thoughts of the format's going to be in both sealed and uh, and in draft. My first impressions is it's going to be very, very fast. I think you're going to want it to build an aggressive deck or a extremely defensive, slower deck to take advantage of the fact that nobody's going to have much of a late game.
Right, but then there's always
Um,
going to be those bombs.
which right, and you will have to worry about bombs, and the bombs are very bomby. But for the most part, they're pretty easy to, if not play around, prepare for. I think I really feel that way. Also, a couple of cards that look really bad are very, very good. For example, we talked a couple of weeks ago about Fire Forger's Puzzle Knot, and this format is actually filled with a huge number of X1s or like X3s that try to block or of creatures that have one more toughness than what they're going to be into blocking. So, like, there's a lot of situations I can't even begin to explain how many where like I would attack with a 3-2 and someone would block with like a 1-4, and then I was able to play the puzzle knot and finish off the blocking creature.
Okay.
So there was a ton of that. There was a couple of situations where I played 2 in one turn to kill a 2-2, um, which also comes up, but I think less. I think the ability to have colorless mana to do 1 damage is very, very high. And then having that onboard trick feels really good. For some reason, people seem to overlook them um, once they're in play. You know what I mean? Like the turn you play them, obviously it's like, oh, you because you do it so you don't get blown out or whatever.
Right.
But it's like once they sit on the table, they forget about it.
Right.
So it's like an onboard trick that's completely camouflaged. And I don't understand why it seems to be that card in particular is that way. Um, it's really tricky. Like I saw so many people run the artifact cobra into it. They're just like 2 mana, play my guy, and I'm just like 3 mana, shoot it at the end of your turn. Just like,
Right.
oh,
Well, and from my experience, just with overlooking crap, it's not so much that we forget that it's there as much as it is that it if there's other things on the board that are also threats, it just kind of gets not forgotten about, just lost.
sure. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, it just feels very strange to me that exactly how they end up. It ends up having so much more play than I thought it would. Like I was pretty high on the card when we talked about it a couple of weeks ago, but after playing it, I'm like here on it in limited. I think it would be a really high pickup for me. Um, Probably like in the. I'm going to guess here because I haven't actually drafted the set yet. If I'm in red, it's probably going to be somewhere in a like probably 6 to 8 range, I think. So like once the packs have tabled once, I'm going to pick them up pretty quickly. Is where I'm kind of guessing they're going to be at.
Okay.
Again, just from kind of fiddling with it. Another card that I think is a much better now than like I was again, we were high on it at first, but I think it's even better now is the fabrication module in particular. There are so many commons and uncommons that give energy when they also come into play, like creatures or whatever. So being able to play a fabrication module on 3 and then take these on curve creatures off curve. So say like it's turn 6, right? And you draw like your third. There's a red 2/1 thriving red thing. Let's just call it a thriving red thing unless I figure it out in like real quick. But it's like a 2/1 that makes 2 energy when it comes into play, and then when it attacks, you can add another energy. The fact that that card like gives you a reason to play it late instead of here's my 2/1 or here's my two mana 2/1 dork, on turn 6 or whatever. It's like now it's either give a important creature or useful creature +1/+1, or make itself into a 3/2, which makes itself a 4/3 on attacking. Like that's really quite strong. And then of course, 4 mana to essentially make an energy and give something +1/+1. It's a very strong card, and it being an uncommon, I would not expect something to be quite so strong. I could easily see picking up one of these as high as a first or second pick in the draft format. Like if you open a kind of a terrible card, like a terrible rare, I could easily see taking this over a bad rare. It's way up there on the power level. That being said, I probably only want one, but like I'll take every single one of those freaking Eddie Trail Hawks. I'll build my entire deck out of Eddie Trail Hawks, basically, I think. Like 6 Eddie Trail Hawks and like some
A
4/4s. I'll be totally. Even the turtle would be awesome. But
Yeah,
like a 4/4 would be great. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
busted that would
Like,
be. Play the turtle and that thing, and then on turn 3 you swing and you have a flying turtle.
oh
Reminds me of
man,
Mario Kart.
look at you. Look at you with the combos. Um, I don't know. Some things that were in my pool, but I never really felt like trying to make work was the World Maker. It just felt too slow every time I tried to even consider it. Like I would look at it in sideboard games and be like, man, I wish I could play this. Just put it back down. And you would think the ability to make 1/1 flying creatures in this format would be amazing. It's just too slow, I think. In draft, could be totally different. Because there's so many like good walls in the deck in the environment, you might be able to play a card this slow in draft and just use it to grind out your opponents. But not in sealed, I don't think. I think sealed, you need to be attacking and blocking. You need to make 2 drops more so than a lot of other formats. Let me see. A couple other cards that kind of stood out that weren't really high on my radar. Did we talk about Perpetual Timepiece?
I don't know. What's it do?
It's a 2 mana artifact. Tap it to put the top 2 cards of your library into your graveyard. So it's a self-mill card.
Sounds good.
Or 2 mana, exile it. Shuffle any number of cards from your graveyard to your library. So it's one
Okay.
of those situations where, as you kind of mill yourself to reduce the cards in your library, that you can basically restack your deck with just the stuff that you want.
Right.
Um, I don't know. I was really impressed with it. I had a couple of people play it against me.
Leave all your stupid lands in the graveyard and
Right.
get all your spells back.
Right. All the things that, and I actually had a couple of people just get like 3 cards and shuffle those 3 cards back in, to keep the odds of drawing good things high. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
I was really impressed with how it kind of worked. I did end up drawing a match because of that card,
Okay.
basically bringing back a fog, and my opponent redrew the fog. And I assume because he brought back, I think, the fog and 2 removal spells. So I wanted to attack to be safe against a removal spell. And basically, what I ended up doing was putting myself in a situation where he could fog and attack me back for lethal. But we ran out of time
Right.
on his attack back. So it was really irritating in that regard. Something else that's really irritating is, guess who opened a Chandra for the very first pre-release? And then guess who couldn't play Chandra because there was like no red in his pool?
I'm gonna guess you.
Me.
I would have forced it.
Um, I there
Nope.
just wasn't red. Like,
Artifact.
I even with the artifacts, I don't think I would have had a deck. Like, I
Red
could have
blue.
splashed it.
Red X.
Oh man, it would have been super super difficult
Should
to
have
try to
got
make
there.
that work.
Should have done it. I would have.
I went
I don't.
3-1 with the other stuff. The other thing that was irritating about that pool was, with the exception of one other card, every single one of my rares, including my foil. No, I take it back. I had 2 other rares. Every other card that I opened that was a rarity was a fast land.
Nice.
So I could play basically any color combinations I wanted, except for red. Like, there was just not enough red cards to make it go. I think I ended up playing blue green, and like I said, I ended up at that 3-1, basically like I always do. And I don't know, it was weird. It was just really weird. Um, my blue rare that actually came out of that particular set, though, a blue legend. I'm trying to think of his name. Scrolling. Here he is. Padim, Console of Innovation. 1 blue and 3 generic for a 1/4. Artifacts you control have hexproof. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control an artifact with the highest converted mana cost or tied for the highest converted mana cost, you draw an extra card.
Okay.
This guy drew me so many cards off of like a 4 mana, like anything, like an equipment or not an equipment. I didn't play an equipment, a vehicle, or I had the 3/2 haste flyer. That guy like drew me a card every turn for like 3 games or something. The card advantage in that with that guy was real. I ended up losing that game, or losing that round that I ended up losing because it was too slow. But that's why you got to play those aggressive guys, I guess. Anyway, I don't know. It was a lot of fun. I highly recommend playing it. You're going to love it when you get a chance to play it.
Should
I know you're planning on coming down in a couple of months, right?
hopefully. I mean, don't know how far back this trip set me, but yeah, hopefully.
Sure. So hopefully we'll have an opportunity to. I'll make sure that we try to have a sealed or something in this format near when you're coming down, because I think you'll really love it. and I'm hoping that I won't get burnt out on it because I'm really having a lot of fun with this so far.
Right.
So let's talk about some of the rules questions that popped up because as we know, I'm a level 1 and I work for my LGS, running their pre-releases and the Friday Magics and stuff like that. So,
I have one before you get started.
oh, you do. Let's hear it.
All right. So we were in a game yesterday, and uh, see, I was watching a game, and their creature was like a 3/3 with trample or something,
Okay.
and then their opponent had a Bedlam Reveler. So they attacked. They attacked with their 3/3, and he blocked with his Bedlam Raveler. So in response, the guy fiery tempered the Bedlam Reveler. So would the person who attacked, would he just assign 1 point of damage to the Reveler and then the other 2 trample damage to the opponent?
Um, so if they so trample works in such a way where it assigns lethal damage to the blocking creature,
Mm-hmm.
then all the rest of the damage goes over to the defending player.
Okay.
Okay, so if it was, I'm not exactly sure what all the cards were, but say it's like a 3/3 being blocked by uh,
A 3/4.
a 3/4, and then you do 3 damage to it, it would assign 1 damage to the blocking creature and then the rest of the damage to the defending player because
Okay.
that would make lethal damage. It's the same way with like Death Touch and Trample because 1 point of damage is lethal to the creature, so the rest of it gets to trample over.
Okay. Yeah, that's just what we were double checking because that's the ruling that we came up with
Right.
since we don't
Yeah.
officially have a level 1 judge at or yesterday
Okay.
because
Well,
it was just like a it
like a
wasn't say
normal ad
yeah
hoc.
yeah it wasn't REL.
Sure. Yeah, that's a good question. We have a lot of little nuances like that come up sometimes that people don't always know the answer. Um, and but it's also good to be able to ask those things for in the future. So as always, people have a lot of weird questions at the pre-release that
Mm-hmm.
even after you kind of explain it at the beginning of the event before the
There's
flight happens, they're
some
still
people
going to ask.
like, what?
Right, they're still going to ask. So the most commonly asked question, do you want to guess with the show notes here? It says all the vehicles. Do
I
you
assume is how do we crew?
it was crew related. Um, questions on if I kill the creature that he's using to crew his artifact, does his artifact stop being a creature? The answer to that is no. Crewing is an activated ability, not unlike paying mana for a man land, right? So if you blow up somebody's land in response to them activating their man land, but you don't blow up their man land themselves, so you have the 3/3 hexproof one, and they spend their 4 mana to wake it up,
Mm-hmm.
you can't blow up one of their blue sources and say you don't have enough mana now to make this thing alive.
Okay.
Right? Like that question, for some reason, people just seem to have it locked in their head that the creature, once it's crewed, it's got to go. That also means that a lot of people could, because I don't believe it's got as a sorcery effect on it. So a lot of people were in response to a removal spell, crewing a vehicle. Same kind of thing, floating a mana and kind of making things happen. The other big question that came down a ton was, do vehicles have summoning sickness if you crew them the first turn they come into play?
Yes.
All permanents have summoning sickness if they become a creature during that first turn unless they have haste. So if you make an artifact that says spend 1 mana and it becomes a 2/2, it's just as sick as a vehicle. It says crew 1, right? Like that
Mm-hmm.
makes sense. There's no difference between them. Crewing essentially is convoke for activated abilities.
It's like if you activate a mutavault, the turn it comes in can't
Exactly.
attack.
Exactly. 100% the same thing. So I don't understand why in particular this nuance of vehicles seems to have changed things in people's mind. Um, there are some vehicles that have haste on them, for example, and those are like the exceptions. But because they have haste, they can do stuff. Another thing that happened a couple of times was Inventors Fair
Okay.
issues. Um, so Inventor Fair is worded a little bit weird. Sacrifice Inventor's Fair, search your library for an artifact card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. Activate this ability only if you control 3 or more artifacts. People were leaving that line off constantly.
Yep.
It was a real problem that people did not kind of, they just were like, oh, da, da. No, I only need 3 artifacts to gain a life. I'm like, no, you need 3 artifacts to do this. Like, what do you mean? It doesn't say that. I'm like, read the card. Like, read it all.
RTFC.
Yeah. So there are a few things that are like that. Normally, you'll see things like as a sorcery is the most common, but Inventors Fair is also special. So that was probably the other big question that came up a ton. There were some weird things, like using a vehicle to crew another vehicle to crew another vehicle. I tried to do that really hard, but I never had a situation where it was worth it for me.
Unless you could
Um,
untap all of your permanents somehow.
I mean, that could be a thing that happens. Um, the closest I came was somebody gave that blue equip or that blue enchantment that makes your vehicle like minus something minus O. Ether Meltdown.
Okay.
Enchanted permanent gets -4 -O. So I ended up having like a 2 4 something vehicle several times. And it's like, man, if I could spend 3, I could use it to equip my 2 mana, but it just didn't, it never came up. Um, but it would have been a lot of fun. And the other things that I kind of learned from this format, the angels are all super good. The 4/4 angel for 6 that blinks another thing. If you have 2 of them, they can chain off infinitely
Hmm.
because it doesn't have the text that says no angel or non-angel permanent, which I think was really interesting. Um, the other thing is this angel of inspiration is gross. Um,
I don't know what that one is.
it is the 5 mana white, white, and 3 for the 2/1 flying vigilance lifelink. Fabricate 2. All other creatures you control get +1/+1. This thing is sick. Like, you wouldn't think that for 5 mana that a 4/3 would be that great. Like a 4/3, right? You like it dies to everything.
Right.
And it does, unless all the burn spells in the format are 1 to 2 damage. There are a couple of 3s, but I didn't have any 3s, and I just got wrecked by this thing. I was racing a guy, and because of the Angel of Intervention, he ended up gaining, I think, 18 extra points of life and winning the game, which ended up winning the match. Because this thing it's so big. Lifelink and Vigilance together, which means it gains life on attacking and defense, which is just gross. So yeah, I don't know. I was really impressed by that card as well. Yeah, for the most part, though, the bombs just didn't feel like the bombs are good, but they're definitely not like Fate good. You know what I mean? Like in Fate, you just grabbed whatever your rare was and you just hoped it was one of the good ones and just wrote it into the ground. It
Yep.
didn't matter what the rest of your deck was, as long as you got that card out. These don't feel that way to me. These feel really well balanced. They are strong, but they're not warp your entire deck around it. Unless you have one of the Gear Hulks, then F your couch. The green Gear Hulk was a monster. That thing
Yeah.
beat my face in a ton.
See, there is a one of the dudes. He said that when he was playing, he got the Black Gear Hulk and the ability to bounce it, and he just won pretty much every game with that.
I think they're calling it Necrobot after the Necrotol.
Hmm.
It's real. Like it's a monster. It's a beast. Um, the green one though, like bring my own army or make my own giant, really really good as well.
Yeah.
Overall, I the thing was really fun. Cloud Brazier, I would play with a million of these guys. It is possible that this will make my modern wild pair deck. It's a 2/2 for a white, a blue, and a 3 generic. It's a fly-in human scout. When it enters the battlefield, gain 2 life, draw 2 cards.
Yeah, it's
It's
pretty good.
totally it's totally possible that that thing will join uh
And it's a
join the
2/2.
the 2/2, yeah, the 2/2 wild pair deck. It's a 2/2 for 5, but you gain 2 life and you draw 2 cards. It's like the perfect go get wild pair target pretty much.
Right.
Unless you need an answer. Let's see. There was something else that people were really going crazy over. Um, that did a lot of work, but I can't think of it off the top of my head. We had a lot of stuff that looked like it should do a lot of work, but they never really did. A card, real fast, just one more card I want to talk about that I'm really looking forward to is this Ether Hub Grid. Ether Hub. I don't know where grid came from. When it enters the battlefield, you get an energy. It does not come into play tapped. Tap for a butthole mana or a colorless mana, and then tap, pay a energy, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool.
Okay.
So basically, this thing is Tindo's Ice Bridge, but amazing. So I'm really looking forward to a bunch of these things. Um, the land, I know we kind of talked about it last time, but the basic lands are absolutely gorgeous. If they were full art, I would be in love. You know, um, but the fact that I don't know why they keep doing non-full art basic lands. It makes no sense to me.
Right.
Just make them full art. It's dumb. Uh, I guess it would make non-full art special, but I don't know. It seems like a waste because basically, like this swirly island is never going to see play outside of limited. Like
And even then,
yeah,
this right
exactly.
here, my draft box, build with 10 of each basic full art land.
I'm similar, except I use land that I love personally, and some of those are, uh, in fact, none of them are full arts. But for constructed decks, I have full art lands for all of my decks. It's just kind of how it works. Like it doesn't make any sense to me to waste beauty space.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Which is
So
a, which is why I'm liking Force of Will. The whole
yeah, because
cards,
everything's full art.
just the artwork on it all is great. But it's
Yeah,
just me. Don't listen to us wizards. We don't play this game, and we haven't been playing it
I know.
since
I know.
2003.
They're doing everything the way they want to do it. It's fine. They have a plan, and their plan is to convince us to buy so many cards that the game goes bankrupt because we can't afford it anymore.
Right.
Pretty sure that's their plan.
Well, it's working.
It is working. It's definitely working. So I wanted to talk about Commander last week, and I didn't. I don't think.
Okay.
I have a deck listed in the show notes here. Um, it is called uh, Urzi,
Ezeri?
Ezeri, Ezeri. I don't know, whatever that green blue guy is when he comes into play. Like you get an experience counter,
Hmm.
and the experience counters grows, and then the beginning of your turn you get to put experience counters, or the beginning of your attack step you get to put experience counters on the guy. Whatever. It doesn't matter. What does matter is this thing. This deck seems like the kind of deck that I would actually play in, like, well, yeah, in a commander format. But I mean, like, I would play it in a situation where I wasn't just screwing off. You know what I mean? Like, I would play it. To me, this would be a lot of fun. So, like, for example, this thing runs a singleton blighted agent. You put this thing down, say go to combat, and they don't kill it. It's very likely to be basically unkillable,
Right.
right? Um, it also runs a lot of stuff like Sage of Hours. Like, I love this guy with Sage of Hours. Like, it's my turn. Hey, it's my turn again. Hey, it's my turn again. You know what I mean? Like, this does feel like a 2-card combo that's a little cheesy, but it's easy enough to break up. Like, if somebody can't instant speed kill one of my creatures that has literally no protection on it, uh, then you deserve to lose the game. Let's see. There's a couple of other things in here, like Chasm Sulker. Whenever you draw a card, it grows. If it dies, you get that many squids,
Yep.
equal to the 1/1 counters on it. Seems great.
I remember that in a sealed deck. Oh, it was so much fun. I got it
Uh,
out on turn 3 and then just drew like 6 cards afterwards.
yeah, exactly. You also have some things in here like the that +1/+1 counters matters, like some graft creatures that give abilities, like give flying, give shroud, give that kind of stuff. As long as they have a 1/1 counter, I think that's really cool. Then you also have stuff like Wild Beastmaster, where when it attacks, all your dudes get +X where it's equal to his power. A lot of those kind of things kind of floating around. Um, and then, of course, you have like just your normal big stupid stuff like Hornet Queen and Avenger of Syndagar. Um, like I like those kind of cards. So it does make me think that this is a commander deck that I would play and put together. And the price is pretty close to online for what I'm willing to pay for a commander deck at $40. Um, like it seems pretty close. So what do you think? Is this something like, is this a good commander deck? Is this something that I should either invest in online or actually in paper as well, and see if I could get into some sort of commander format? Because we do some heads up commander tournaments at the arena, and I
I
don't
mean, this
know. I don't know if this is any good or not.
this is definitely a great one-on-one commander. Uh, I think it might be difficult in a
But
group game, but the rest of it looks great.
okay. So for heads up though, Soul Ring is like banned, right?
Yeah.
So like that's out. So like I also would need to figure out how to make it like what'd you call it, heads up? I'd have to figure out how to make it heads up viable. I don't know if there's anything else except for Soul Ring that's out, but like I could throw something in there like a Birds of Paradise as well. You know, like
Right.
I have some physical cards that I could not necessarily put together from, you know, I wouldn't necessarily be able to afford if I was buying this, but I don't know. This is kind of where I'm looking right now, I guess is what I'm saying.
I think this
Right.
deck looks so much fun.
Okay. Well, then that's might be what I do. I might put Remington on putting it together and see what we need, and then just try to pick up the leftovers. Um, is this something that I should try to acquire copies both online and like do I need to practice playing it online, or do you think that it'd be fine to just pick it up and play?
I think it'd be fine just to pick it up and play on paper,
Okay.
simply because other than the Sage of Hours, there's no real combos. It's really just straightforward.
I mean, there's some things I think, but yeah, for the most part, it's kind of like a basic beat down draw card kind of
Right.
thing.
I mean, it does everything Green Blue does, which is hit them in the face and draw cards.
So, what do you think about putting in like? I don't remember if there's a green tutor in here. Like you would think that it would run the one green tutor spell, right?
Right, the one that gets you a creature.
Yeah, I don't see one. But what if I were to make a few changes and add like that, and what's the remove a 1/1 counter, gain 2 life? Um,
Oh,
I don't know either right off the top of my head. There's a creature that does that. So every time it comes into play with 2 counters, remove a counter, you gain 2 life. Um, so you can learn like a couple of those kind of combos, including like even well, I guess there's not really a sacrifice outlet, but run something like that. So basically, put in a couple of infinite life combos and throw in one of the ether flux reservoir.
you could put Wild Nicottle in the deck too.
Yeah,
Whenever you draw a card, it gets a +1/+1 counter.
it's not wild Nicottle.
Oh wait, no. What's the snake that I'm thinking of? Oh yeah, Nicottle's the kitty. What's the
Yeah,
snake that I'm thinking of?
I don't know. I'm curious now because something that draw every time you draw a card, you put a
Put a
counter
1/1
on it.
counter on it. Yeah,
That sounds really good.
and it cost a colorless or generic, a green, and a blue, and it's a 1/1. I think it may have flash.
Hmm. I don't know. I'd have to check it out later, I think. But I don't know. So, but basically, you're telling me you think that this is a good choice.
Yeah,
Okay, sweet. I will put a link to it in the show notes. And if anyone out there who's also like a commander master wants to take a look at it for me and tell me where they would make changes,
without dumping
um,
too much money into it.
I mean, yes and no. Like my thing is that I have a lot of cards that I think would go in this deck that do cost money. More like if it's in paper, I just want to know what suggestions you would make. So if I were to have said cards, I could put them in. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Well, I mean, right off the top of my head, land,
Sure.
breeding pool, different man lands,
Right. And
and then
those are all things that
fetches.
I would be able to do. Um,
Because just think if you have like your uh, your lumbering falls or whatever, and you activate it, and you're like, all right, I go to combat. Boom! This has 18 counters on it. Also, now it's trample, so deal with it.
right.
You know, it's a 21/21 hex proof, and I mean it's green. There's green in the deck, so you have ways to give it trample.
Sure. I mean,
But
yeah, it could be good. I'm just like I said, I don't know what exactly to do long term kind of things. Something else I want to talk about. A friend of mine last night was playing Magic Online, and we were just kind of hanging out. I was playing some DDO on the stream, twitch.tv/Samus Garobo, and he was, like I said, playing Magic, and he hit this. Um, oh my goodness! Now I'm trying to think of it. One of the infinite spells, like epic spells, you cast at one time and it just goes off every turn, but you can't cast any other spells.
hell yeah,
But the white one that goes and puts an enchantment into play.
yep. I used to have a deck around that.
I can't. Yeah, I can't think of what it's called.
Enduring
But
ideal.
enduring ideal. Thank you. He hit one of these things last night, and it basically put him on tilt so hard, so fast that I don't even know if he actually lost the game. I think
Wait,
he just got
he drew it and that put him on tilt.
the opponent
His opponent.
played the deck, managed to get the enduring ideal off. I think he said like on turn 4,
Oh,
which
nice.
looks like it's pretty plausible, and then put my friend in a position where he was so tilted that he just basically was like, done. I'm done with this game because he felt like he was not able to play Magic. And of course, when you're playing for fun, screwing around, that's what you want to play, right? Like you want to be able to play Magic. It doesn't matter if you win or if you lose, as long as you get to play. There's nothing worse than playing a game of Magic and feel like you didn't even get to play. whether that's mana screw or mana flood or uh, your opponent blowing up your lands. Like those are the reasons why they kind of got rid of those kind of cards in standard. So my friend was like, "Man, this really sucks," and he just started like, I don't want to say complaining, but basically kind of started like down this chain that made me go, I used to have a deck that I tried to build around Enduring Ideals. This sounds exactly like the kind of troll thing that I would be interested in playing for fun. I don't
Right.
necessarily know for a big tournament, but for fun, I would definitely play this um, if I thought I could get it consistently down on in a tournament, I would definitely consider it.
So
Um,
now I had one of my commanders. It was a 5-color commander based around enchantments and enduring ideal.
mhm.
And basically, I would ramp, just ramp just to get enduring ideal quickly, and then I'd tutor for it, and then I'd have like 30 spells that were enchantments that would either ramp up the deck or be my win conditions. But what I would try to do is play Hive Mind before I cast Enduring Ideal,
Okay. So then they
and then
couldn't play any other spells either?
right, and then cast Hive Mind so everybody grabs it first, and then mine resolves, and then I get Stranglehold, and then for the rest of the game, nobody can search their deck or take extra turns,
Okay.
and then I would just sit there with my basically wall of enchantments because obviously I'd be a target after that, and I'd get Sphere of Safety, which you know if I'm ramping with uh, land land enchantments, then I already have a bunch of enchantments in play. So I just sit there and I just protect myself. And
the,
then I had the gods as my win condition because I just make them all live and start swinging with indestructible creatures.
one of the reasons I kind of bring it up is because I've been looking at this Enchantress deck in Modern for a little while. That's kind of been floating around. Um, Again, it kind of runs on a lot of cards that I have, things like Eidolon of Blossoms and Coursers of Crewfix, Utopia Sprawl, stuff like that to, you know, like you said, accelerate, expand, play bigger things, Ghostly Prism, stuff like that, and kind of set up a draw engine.
Hmm.
And I was wondering if, like, I don't like how a lot of people are using like Luminarch's Ascension as their big finish, or even Sigil of the Empty Throne as their big finish. But I do really like the idea of changing things slightly, using something like Enduring Ideals, and putting in a couple of different combo pieces. Um, like, of course, the Bane one is Form of the Dragon, right? Like, you your life always goes to 5, but you do 5 damage to target creature or player.
Right.
Um, Apparently, this guy was using Stormbind as his big spell, which could also be really good. With Eidolon of Blossoms to draw you a card, Stormbind, you pay 2 mana, discard a card, and you shock. So
Okay.
like that could be really interesting. I don't know. I want to put it out there for anybody else who might be brewing in Modern right now, because I think there's a lot of interesting potential with this. And the thing I didn't like about the Soul Sister, or the sorry, not Soul Sisters, about the Enchantress deck is I didn't care for the win conditions. It's super defensive. So if someone figures out a way to get in there or get through things or whatever, it's really easy to kind of just push you out and win the game. But if you have something like Enduring Ideals or some way to like play, just play some of these other I win the game enchantments or tutor up these I win the game enchantments, I just wonder if there's a better win condition for this style of deck if you can draw into it with the Eidolon of Blossom shell. So I don't know. I wanted to kick it out there, see what our trollish brains could come up with, and see if any of the listeners have any ideas either. That'd be really great. I don't know, Travis. Do you have any questions or comments or anything that you want to discuss before we move on into our game?
No, not really.
Okay.
I haven't, obviously I haven't been playing Magic much, so or in this past week, so I really don't have anything else going on.
Yeah, I feel your pain. I feel your pain exactly. So this is what I want to do because we really didn't have an opportunity to prepare, and I don't know how much of a playful mood you're actually honestly in. I know I've had a long weekend, and I'm still trying to recover. So I'm thinking instead, how about we go back to our favorite standby
Okay.
of Would You Rather?
Okay.
All right. Would you rather only be able to whisper or only be able to shout?
Ooh, shout.
Shout.
Uh huh.
Um, I
That's
think
the best way to get your point across and the best way to release anger outside from hitting people.
yeah, I don't know. I think both of these would suck. Um, 29% of people say be able to shout.
Well, the rest of them are wrong.
I
So,
I guess so. I'm trying to get that to click to do the next question here. Okay. Would you rather be a cat or be a dog?
cat, is that a
I would
question that
much
you have to ask me?
I'd much rather be a dog. I don't detest cats, but I'm deadly tired of cats. To the devil. All right. Are you actually going to change questions on me now? I guess not. All right. Well, we'll just.
So, what
Would you?
percentage was
Oh,
picking the cat?
it was like 30-60 in dog's favor.
60% of people are stupid.
All right. If you had to fight somebody in a boxing match, Apollo Creed or Ivan Drago?
Um,
Those are the Rocky
yeah,
villains.
yeah, yeah.
No, not Apollo. He wasn't a villain, was he? Yeah, he was.
He was the
Apollo's the guy
opponent.
from.
Let's just call them opponents. I think I'd rather go against Ivan.
That's the Russian, right?
Yeah,
No, no. I'd rather keep it in America, baby.
I'm up for a
Um,
challenge taking down them communist swine.
if you had to choose a portable game device, if you were going to be a portable game device, Nintendo DS or a PSP,
DS.
probably
I
would
mean,
agree, I guess.
I mean, the reason I say that is you have all those fun Nintendo games that you can play, and basically the only upside for a PSP is that you can watch movies, but you can do that on your phone anyways. So,
It looks like it's 49 to 51% in a PSP favor. Let's do two here. Would you rather spend the day with Beaver or Miley Cyrus?
Miley Cyrus.
I think you should stay away from a day with Miley Cyrus, my friend.
I'll take STDs and horrible singing over going to prison for murder.
I I'm afraid you'd be back on the sauce after a day with either one of them, but I'm pretty sure it'd be more likely with Miley Cyrus.
Oh well, at least I might catch something.
You wake
Oh
up
wait,
think
yeah.
you wake
Besides,
up
Wrecking Ball was a great song.
uh I come in like a pokeball, I'm going to catch them all. That's all I know.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
Looks like you're with the majority 71 to 29. I think we've done the eat the Beatles thing. Would you rather know to speak only English or know how to speak every language but never English?
Oh, I'd rather do the second.
It would be rough.
I mean, sure, speaking only English is only going to be viable in this country, but if you can speak every other language, you can literally go anywhere.
Except for England
Who cares?
or Canada. Large swaths
Canada,
of Canada.
yeah, I was like, as long
Large
as you're on the
swaths of
eastern
Canada.
part,
All right, one more. Would you rather have the feeling of being kicked in the testicles for 12 hours a day or be able to produce never be able to produce healthy children?
well, considering I don't want children, I'll take the second option.
All right. It looks like you're in the majority once again, 73% to
Well, that's
37%. Me,
because
I would
nobody
rather not be
hit the
kicked in the
deck.
nuts ever again.
Yeah, like
Never again. I have a kid.
never.
We're good. We're good. All right, everybody. Thanks for being part of the show today. Again, you can check out all episodes at samusgrobo.com. You can also send us an email, the number 2, trollsbrew@gmail.com. You can check us out at Twitch, twitch.tv/samusgarobo, or twitter.com/samusgarobo, and twitter.com turtlepower, the numbers 319. I don't know, Travis. Closing thoughts for us this week?
Nah,
Come on now. You got to have something. Don't make me tickle you through the computer screen until you give us something.
I mean, there's really not many closing thoughts other than
Kitty,
just
kitty, kitty, cue. Kitty, 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 cue. Kitty, 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 cue.
this is my laughing face.
That's weird because that's the same face you gave Wizards for like printing shenanigans or never printing damnation. That's right. Same face.
Yep,
No, that's a totally different face.
troll on.
Kitty, 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 cue. Troll on everybody.